Trust versus mistrust is Erikson's first psychosocial stage, which is experienced in the first year of life. The development of trust during infancy sets the stage for a lifelong expectation that the world will be a good and pleasant place to live. Being an only child to my parents, there was always love and compassion, and there was never a lack of attention. Therefore, I grew up with trust.
The second stage of Erikson's stages of psychosocial development is autonomy versus shame and doubt. The stage occurs between the ages of 18 months to around 2 to 3 years. According to Erikson, children at this age are focused on developing a greater sense of self-control. At this point in development, children are just starting to gain a little independence. They're starting to perform basic actions on their own and making simple decisions about what they prefer. By allowing kids to make choices and gain control, parents and caregivers can help develop children with a sense of autonomy. Children who successfully complete this stage feel secure and confident, while those who do not are left with a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt.
Erikson's third stage of psychosocial development is initiative versus guilt, and this happens between the age of 3 years and 5 years. During this stage of my life, my parents got a divorce. In this stage, that feeling of initiative versus guilt made me feel guilt in the fact that my parents got a divorce. I was never given a real reason for their divorce, but as a child, I couldn't help but to blame myself.
Stage 4. Industry versus inferiority. At this stage in development, children begin to perform more complicated tasks as well as recognizing their abilities. Children who do not perform as well feel inferior to their peers. During this stage, I started first grade at a new school where I started learning subjects such as reading, writing, math, science, and history, where I excelled with straight A's throughout junior high. At this stage, I also started gymnastics, where I then became a competitive gymnast until high school. This stage in my life was a time where I excelled, so I considered it an industry over an inferiority stage.
Erikson's fifth stage of psychosocial development is called identity versus role confusion. This happens between the ages of 13 years and 21 years. During this age, I lived in Texas and I was moved back to San Jose, California at the age of 16. During this time, I was still trying to find myself, and that move just really made it hard for me to figure out where I belonged in my new school.
The sixth stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development is intimacy versus isolation. This stage takes place during the young adulthood between the ages of approximately 18 to 40 years. During this period, the major conflict enters on forming intimate, loving relationships with other people. The major question of this stage is, will I be loved or will I be alone? People who are successful in resolving the conflict of intimacy versus isolation are able to develop deep, meaningful relationships with others. They have close, lasting romantic relationships, but they also forge strong feelings with family and friends. A sense of self is very important. Studies have demonstrated that those with a poor sense of self tend to have less committed relationships and are more likely to suffer emotional isolation, loneliness, and depression.
Generativity versus stagnation is considered middle adulthood in Erikson's theory. This stage occurs in the 40s and 50s of one's life. The desire to leave a legacy of themselves for the next generation is considered generativity. Research suggests that this stage in life is crucial in reaching generativity because the middle age of life is strongly related to intimacy in order to have a long and satisfied marriage at 75 to 80 years of age. Stagnation occurs when a person believes they have not done anything for future generations. Self-absorption is another term used to describe stagnation. Luckily, generativity can be achieved through a number of ways. Not only can this be developed through nurturing and guiding children, but also by teaching, leading, and doing things that benefit the community. Integrity versus despair is the eighth and final stage of life, according to Erikson's theory. This is where a person begins to reflect on their life. They look back at their life experiences evaluate them, interpret, and often reinterpret them. This is called life review. Another aspect of life review is reflecting on their regrets in order to develop self-understanding and wisdom. The goal is to increase life satisfaction by creating a more accurate vision of the complexity of their life. During this stage, one will determine whether they are happy and content with what they have accomplished in life, integrity, or if they are displeased with their life achievements, despair. It is important to have a more active lifestyle during this stage in life. According to the activity theory, older adults who have a productive and energetic lifestyle age more successfully and are happier.